All
Awesome.
right, so today I'm sitting here with Dr. Elmore. Dr. Elmore is a professor here at Ohio State, where I go to school. He's a history professor, specializes in environmental history. I've taken a couple of his classes now, and we really get along, so I figured he'd be a great person to have on and talk a little bit about how to approach college classes. Um, Dr. Elmore, do you have anything that you'd like to say to introduce
Welcome.
yourself or start
Welcome
off?
to the welcome to the Grand Ohio State University. We are so delighted to have you, and yeah, it's going to be a fun couple of years. And I hope you take my class.
Yes, yeah. As a quick plug there, I would absolutely encourage that. No matter what your major is, every class I've been in, we've had fun. So I think the first thing that I want to ask is just how you structure your class, right? So I'm thinking from the perspective of someone who's never been to a college class before, is used to taking high school classes or coming from a trade school. So like the first day of class, what does that look like for you? And then how does that apply to the rest of the semester?
First day is just a chance for everyone to really shake off the cobwebs, get to know each other. In a way, you could argue that if you're coming in fresh to college, this is a great chance to just relax. Low stakes, the idea. Most professors, I think, follow the same protocol, which is to just try and get everyone to kind of loosen up a little bit. We're going to be a community for the next 15 weeks, a community of people who are going to share ideas about politics, culture, and the environment and issues that matter to everyone. And so really the key is just to get everyone to feel that way, to feel like they're a part of a group that they're going to want to come back to every day for the next 15 weeks. So that's the goal of that first day. So I think come to your first day relaxed, like ready to be yourself, ready just to kind of introduce yourself and let people know kind of who you are and why you're there. So that's what I'd say about the first day. It really is a loose structure designed to allow people to kind of have their voice heard. I think I don't want to talk at students. Right. I'd rather them be talking with me. So that's that first day for sure.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Just to echo that, right? In my experience, right, I'm going to be a senior, right? So my experience, the first day, there are some people who talk about, oh, like if you're going to miss a day, miss the first day. I actually think it's kind of the opposite. I think that the first day is really important to go and show up and get to know people and and I understand it can be an intimidating thing to walk into a class of 30 or 40 or 300, it's here at Ohio State, people, and tell your name or look at the person next to you and introduce yourself. But that's something I think is really important. And I've always found the classes that I've had the most fun have been the ones that I've sat down in and I've gotten to know the people around me. I've gotten to know the professor, and all that starts on the first day, which is always good.
Charlie, let me say one other thing on that.
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you're
yeah.
coming from, especially from high school, and I'm saying this as a person who went to high school, like everyone, a lot of the people who are going to be going to this first class, I think there's an expectation that it's going to be like high school in the sense that you're going to see your teacher and you're going to get to be with them every single day. By the way, think about that. You go see your science class teacher every day, and you're going to do that for the whole year. And in some cases, you're going to probably see that teacher, again and again, day in, day out. You might take another class with them sophomore year, and it's just like you see them all the time. That's the difference between college and high school, is that you don't see them all the time. You meet twice a week sometimes you meet once a week. And the quicker you learn that it's up to you to go and have those conversations with your professor, the quicker it's going to feel more meaningful in terms of your relationship, like you've had with your teachers in high school. The students I know the most are people like Charlie and others who choose to come to office hours and come and sit and we have conversations and we get to know each other, right? And take the time to do that. If you don't do that, you're going to feel very distant from your professors because you only see them twice a week. And during that time, they're dealing with 50 students. So, you may not get as much airtime as you'd like. So a fraction of undergraduates actually go to office hours. You should be a part of that fraction. You should go and you should get to know them, because last thing I'll say is they will write letters of recommendation for you. They'll try and help you get jobs and things like that. And if they know you, it helps.
Right.
If they have to write, and I do this a lot, letters for somebody that just comes to my class, I only have so much to go on. So I just say, make an effort to really come up after class, introduce yourself, and then come to office hours to meet with your professor.
Right. Yeah. And actually, you just answered my next question, right? And so the part that I will also
I'm so efficient, Charlie.
I'm
so efficient.
I know. After years of getting to know each other, it seems like we're on the same wavelength on a lot of things.
Just finishing each other's sentences.
That's right. But yeah, well, just to echo that, I say that, like, I not only do I go into professor's office hours, and I found that extremely helpful from just like the technical learning content perspective. As my first year, once I got over the a little bit of not that professors put intimidation on me, but it can be a little bit intimidating to go in and sit down with a college professor, right? And just introduce yourself. But once I got over that and just realized that college professors are just regular people too, right? And
true.
you go and you sit down and you talk, and you can talk about things going on in class, and then you can build relationships with professors and talk about other things, right? And I found that I not only like learned way more in those classes, which is good, right? That's why we're at college. But also, like, I have some of my most genuine and respected relationships are with professors that I sit down and you can just talk about whatever with, right? And that's something that's valuable from a technical learning, that's valuable from like a career standpoint, like you brought up. And it's also valuable just to, like, you have however long you're in college to enjoy this educational experience. I think that's a big part of it.
That's exactly right.
So yeah, I guess one of the other things I wanted to bring up was that college classes are coming into a college class from high school, especially. In high school, they tell you a lot, right? College classes are incredibly difficult. You should be intimidated. It makes you feel like you need to be intimidated or whatever. So I just wanted to sort of attack that stereotype and talk to you about how you more grading, like how you assess students, how students feel like their learning is being demonstrated, how you grade them on stuff like that,
Right.
and really the overall importance of those things, if it is important at all in your view.
Well, one thing I'll say is, look, there are bad professors out there, just like there's bad teachers, there's bad, whatever, there's bad line chefs, there's bad everything, right? And so this, you really have to kind of, I do think, navigate your college career and own it, and end up in classes where you don't end up with the kind of the professor who doesn't want to teach, or who has a bad track record. And that's pretty easy to kind of figure out. You kind of talk with fellow students about their experience, and you also do a little bit of research and kind of get a sense. And what you'll find is that at a place like Ohio State, it's pretty hard to end up there to teach there. And a lot of us, and I'd say the majority of us, love teaching. It's the number one thing that we love about our job. And many of us were teachers before we went off to go get our degrees at the high school level. So I've taught freshman English, and I've taught younger students as well. And so we get it. Our goal is to help you succeed. I mean, I don't know what people's vision might be. Maybe people think it's like, well, we just like making really hard exams so we can fail people or something like that. But nobody likes that. That doesn't make me feel good. They've sat in this room for X amount of time, and they walk away with a bad grade. I don't like that either. I'd rather them do well. Mm-hmm. So maybe the best thing I can say is that we're rooting for you. I literally will email that to some students who may be struggling or whatever. And I mean it. Like, I want you to do well, because what will happen is I'll see a student who's maybe just struggling a little bit. We'll get back on track. We'll work together. And it feels like an accomplishment for me and that student, who then goes on to do really well. And then, we'll write. And this is the great thing about doing this is years later, people will say, really, I appreciate it when you intervene there or you stepped in or whatever. So I think we are human, as Charlie was kind of intimating earlier. We are normal people who are driven by the care and compassion for others. And as a history professor, I'd certainly put a punctuation on that point. I mean, we study the human condition, and we understand that people are coming to class with all sorts of emotions, and some people have different skills and everything else. So our goal is to get everyone up to speed and to provide the infrastructure. The biggest thing I think I would say is, like, if grades are not working out or things are going south, just don't hide. Come hang with us. Come talk to us. Come be, a face that we'll get to know, and we'll work hard with you to cross the finish line together. And it's part of the job, and part of what we like doing is, you could argue that the Charlies of the world, the A students, sorry, Charlie, they're great, but they're going to do their thing and they're going to rock on. There's some students that sometimes just need a little bit more, and sometimes that's just part of the job, and we really enjoy going through that process and watching people grow and watching people get to a different place. And Charlie, even yourself, man, you've grown so much over those years, and it's just so fun to talk with students that have done that. And all of us should be growing. I've grown. I've learned things. I think there was even things I taught Charlie in one class that I went back and looked at the fine details because somebody asked a really good question, and you know what? It was slightly this. So that's what college is. We're learning together. It is a co-teaching kind of experience. And that's what makes it so fun from my perspective, and I think from many professors' perspective. So don't fear it. We're not here to cripple anybody. We want to cross the finish line with you, and we'll work hard to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I definitely can also attest, right, that you especially have always been willing to help me and root for me and all those sorts of things, right? That is 100% true. And I think that's why I've mentioned before, we get along so well. But you mentioned students coming to your class from different backgrounds with different emotions, with different viewpoints on things. So I guess my question to you is, how, in the sort of from a behind the scenes perspective, how do you handle differing and perhaps opposing viewpoints on issues in your class, especially in a subject such as history, right, where there are a lot of opinions on a lot of different things? So how do you handle the opposing viewpoints, but also keeping in mind things like issues of diversity and inclusion, right? And there are things that are like basic human rights and understandings that those need to be solid, but also talking about people come with different backgrounds and at different points of their learning, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about really tough things like race and lynchings of Black men and women back in the early 1900s, and about, so we're talking about mob killings of people. We're talking about really dark stuff and things that get to the heart of, national sins like segregation and topics like environmentalism, which, people coming from different political backgrounds are going to have a different take. So if we haven't done what I said we needed to do on day one, which is get to know each other, create a vibe that is about community and a willingness to accept that the person next to you may have voted for that other party, or that person next to you may be of a different religious background, and that's going to be okay for the next 15 weeks. We're all going to come at this seeing each other as humans. Then we're really in trouble. So usually that's the goal, is to get those first several weeks to really all of us to be feeling like we're a community. And I would just say to the students that is on them too. It's not just, I can't do that out of thin air, right? I can't just create that. What really makes a class stick, and I've been very fortunate at Ohio State to have my classes, I feel like the students really get on board with me with this, is being compassionate to the person next to you, being compassionate to the student who's very vocal, who's saying something in class that, wow, that really gets under my skin, but that's a strong opinion. And I'm going to see that person as a an individual who really wants, who should be respected in terms of being allowed to have their view heard. And and this is a person who's got a dad and a mom, probably a sister and a brother, and has a whole life. And I'm going to see them in that way. I'm going to treat them that way. If a student gets grumpy in a class, would be, instead of just like immediately being like, well, why is this student grumpy? Why am I getting, why is this anger coming out or whatever? It's just trying to, what happened today? Right. What might have happened in that person's life? What might have brought them to this point? Well, how could they maybe be seeing this topic a little bit differently than me? Maybe they come from a different background where they've been exposed to certain views that are different than mine. Mm-hmm. I really think you've got to go in as a student and realize that college is at its best when those types of fireworks are happening in the classroom, where people feel comfortable enough to share what might be seen as a controversial view or whatever, and to embrace each other during those moments, and not to fear it, but to be the compassionate person who's going to help people express themselves in that way.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, all the best classes I've ever been in have been classes where we've had people of different ages, different viewpoints, and they come and they talk about what that is, right? That's all. I think that's really what the heart of college is. And you mentioned the learning together piece, right? That's part of what being a college professor is. That's part of what being a college student is. I did as one of the last questions I wanted to ask, is because I know that you're involved with this, in something that I think is one of the most exciting pieces of being in college is an opportunity to do some research, whether that's partnering with a professor on research or finding something that you yourself are really passionate about, and doing research with professors and in archives and those sorts of things. So I wanted to ask you, how can a student get involved with research? How can they go about picking a topic? And just sort of basic, how can they get involved with this, and why it's something that you think can be valuable which I'm sure you do.
Yes. So 2 stories and I'll be done, but because I think they really get to your point. Going back to high school, the difference between good college professors and bad college professors, and I would say it again, at places like Ohio State, majority are going to be good, is that they're not going to treat your assignments like as assignments just for a grade and just to fulfill some kind of objective for the course. They want it to have utility. They want it to be something that's useful. Mm-hmm. And you get to do work like that actually can have meaning beyond just getting a grade in the class. And that's what I think is so fun about being in a college classroom and actually writing papers and doing research. So 2 things. One is absolutely get involved with a professor that you like. Say, hey, how can I maybe do some research with you? I take on so many students. My acknowledgments to this book that's coming out in October includes the names of so many students over the last 8 years. It took 8 years to write this book, right? And I have all these people that I had to thank, and many of them were students who just came up to me and said, hey, I really want to be on the front lines of getting at a story. And they're all acknowledged because they all did incredible stuff. I mean, one student got documents no one has ever seen before that shows the financing of a corporation and the scientists that worked on a project. And she was able to get this. And it's going to be mind-blowing. People haven't even seen it yet. It's coming out in October. And awesome. That's so cool. Like, they got to do this. I set them off on this path, but they took it under their own wing to try and really do some cool research, and they found something cool. Mm-hmm. So that's a true story, and it happens all the time. Another story is I had students write research papers about a business that had a large environmental impact. And we ended up inviting one of the CEOs of a large major multinational firm to come sit in on our class. And the student had written this report and started chatting with the former CEO of, I won't tell you the name of the business, but one of the biggest companies in the world. And they went back and forth. And then finally the CEO said, hey, I would love to see that report. So please send it to me so that I can send it along to our sustainability officer. Okay. That's the possibilities that you have in college. lives. That is to say, forget about your paper that there's an A or B on the front of it and it's handed back to you and it ends up in the trash. This is work that matters. And the good classes and the good professors, of which there are many at Ohio State, will get you working on things where you're having immediate impact in the real world. And so I would take those classes whenever you can have a chance.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, I could not agree more, right? That's just a small part of what is super special about this time in all of our lives, but it can become a huge part of your life and something you look back on, I don't know, 60, 70 years from now and go, I was in these 4 years, I did something that I feel like really, really made a difference on the world. And that was just the start of making a difference in the world. So yeah, that wraps up all the questions that I have. Thank you so much for getting to talk to me, for stopping by and talking to me today. This was super fun. And
if you're watching this as a video, if you're watching this as a video, students, I don't look like I don't know, a cylindrical body and a round head. I'm not much better looking than that, but I at least have human form. So please do, if you arrive on campus, as Charlie's intimated, feel free to reach out to me. I'm at elmore.83@osu.edu. And again, Professor Bart Elmore, I'm happy to have you in the class or just to chat with you about things like this. And always happy to talk with you, Charlie. Looking dapper as always, my friend.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And so that concludes today's episode, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.